Paradise Found by William Warren, the cradle of the human race at the North Pole. Diagram illustrating the true key to ancient cosmology and mythical geography. Compare page 479. The northern celestial pole in the zenith. AB, the axis of the heavens in perpendicular position. The axis of the earth in perpendicular position. The abode of the supreme god or gods. Europe, Asia, and the known portion of Africa. The earth surrounding the equatorial ocean river. And the abode of disembodied human souls. The abode of demons. The location of submerged Eden. The strength of the hill of Sion. This book is not the work of a dreamer. It is a thoroughly serious and sincere attempt to present what is, to the author's mind, the true and final solution of one of the greatest and most fascinating of all problems connected with the history of mankind. That this true solution has not been furnished before is not strange. The suggestion that primitive Eden was at the Arctic Pole seems at first sight the most incredible of all wild and willful paradoxes, and it is only within the lifetime of our own generation that the progress of geological discovery has relieved the hypothesis of fatal antecedent improbability. Moreover, when one considers the enormous variety and breadth of the fields from which its evidences of truth must be derived, when one remembers how recent are those comparative sciences on whose results the argument must chiefly depend, when one observes that many of the most striking of our alleged proofs, both in the physical and in the anthropological domain, are precisely the latest of the conclusions of these most modern of all sciences, it is easy to see that a generation ago the demonstration here attempted could not have been given. Even 5 years ago, some of the most interesting and cogent of our arguments would as yet have been lacking. The interest which has so long invested our problem, and which has prompted so many attempts to solve it, was never greater than today. The lapse of centuries has rendered many other questions antiquated, but not this. On the contrary, the more the modern world has advanced in new knowledge, the more exigent has grown the necessity of finding a valid solution. Men are feeling as never before that until the starting point of human history can be determined, the historian, the archaeologist, and the paleontological anthropologist are all working in the dark. It is seen that without this desideratum, the ethnologist, the philologist, the mythographer, the theologian, the sociologist, can none of them construct anything not liable to profound modification, if not to utter overthrow, the moment any new light shall be thrown upon the mother region, and the prehistoric movement of the human race. Every anthropological science, therefore, and every science related to anthropology, seems at the present moment to be standing in a state of dubitant expectancy, willing to work little tentatively, but conscious of its destitution of the needful primal datum, and conscious of its consequential lack of a valid structural law. To the believer in revelation, or even in the most ancient and venerable ethnic traditions, the volume here presented will be found to possess uncommon interest. For many years the public mind has been schooled in a narrow naturalism, which has in its worldview as little room for the extraordinary as it has for the supernatural. Decade after decade, the representatives of this teaching have been measuring the natural phenomena of every age and of every place by the petty measuring rod of their own local and temporary experience. So long and so successfully have they dogmatized on the constancy of nature's laws and the uniformity of nature's forces, that of late it has required no small degree of courage to enable an intelligent man to stand up in the face of his generation and avow his personal faith in the early existence of men of gigantic stature and of almost millenarian longevity. Especially have clergymen and Christian teachers and writers upon biblical history been embarrassed by the popular incredulity on these subjects, and not infrequently by a consciousness that this incredulity was in some measure shared by themselves. To all such, and indeed to all the broader-minded among the naturalists themselves, a new philosophy of primeval history, a philosophy which for the alleged extraordinary effects provides the adequate extraordinary causes, cannot fail to prove most welcome. The execution of the plan of the book is by no means all that the author could desire. To the elaboration of so vast an argument, the materials for which must be gleaned from every possible field of knowledge. The broadest and profoundest scholar might well devote the undistracted labor of a lifetime. To the writer, loaded with the cares of a laborious executive office, there were lacking both the leisure and the equipment otherwise attainable for so high a task. The best he could do was to turn 1 or 2 summer vacations into work time and give the result to the world. Of the correctness of his position he has no doubt, and of the preparedness of the scientific world to accept it he is also confident. To the foregoing remarks it may be proper to add that apart from its immediate purpose, the book has interest, and it is hoped value, as a contribution to the infant science of comparative mythology. By the application of the author's true key to an ancient cosmology and mythical geography, it has been possible to adjust and interpret a great variety of ancient cosmological and geographical notions never before understood by modern scholars. For example, the origin and significance of the Chinvat Bridge are here for the first time explained. The indication of the polocentric character common to the mythical systems of sacred geography among all ancient peoples will probably be new to every reader. The new light thrown upon such questions as those relating to the direction of the sacred quarter, the location of the abode of the dead, the character and position of the cosmical tree, the course of the backward-flowing ocean river, the correlation of the navels of earth and heaven, not to enumerate other points, can hardly fail to attract the lively attention of all students and teachers of ancient mythology and mythical geography. To teachers of Homer, the fresh contributions toward a right understanding of Homeric cosmology are sure to prove of value, and if in the end the work may only lead to a systematic and intelligent teaching of the long-neglected but most important science of ancient cosmology and mythical geography in all reputable universities and classical schools, it will surely not have been written in vain. That the author has escaped all errors and oversights while ranging through so numerous and such diverse fields of investigation, many of which are but just open to the pioneering specialist, is too much to expect. He only asks that any such blemishes which a more competent scholarship may detect, or which the progress of new learning may yet bring to light, may not be allowed to prejudice the force of true arguments, but may be pointed out in the spirit of a candid and helpful criticism. In conclusion, the author respectfully commits his work for all truth-seeking spirits, not less to the patient investigators of nature than to the student of history, of literature, and of religion. Particularly would he commend it to all those yearning and waiting Königssonen, whose experience has been described by Hans Andersen in the words, "Once upon a time there was a king, a son. Nobody had so many and such beautiful books as he. In these all that had ever happened in the world he could read and see depicted in splendid engravings. Of every people and of every land could he get information. But as to where the Garden of Eden was, not a word was to be found therein. Just this it was, on which he meditated most of all." Paradise Found by William Warren. And we're just going to go through some of the illustrations first of all, so that we can see the parallels to flat Earth. And it's kind of important just to look at this first. So, the night skies of Eden. What we'll notice is that that he was incorrect about the rotundity of the Earth. He believed that the Earth is round. But everything else, all the other information that he adds up in this, is perfectly in tune with flat Earth cosmology. And actually it's amazing that he missed it. It's almost as though he put this together to throw people off of the flat Earth. Because all the information in it, even when it points to flat Earth, they try to twist it as though it doesn't indicate a flat Earth. And we've all seen the Egyptian cosmology pictures, and you'll see that he tries to say that the Egyptians say that the Earth was round. So, just kind of funny. So that was the antipodal polar mountains. This is a great chapter. We're going to get to this shortly. Part 4, the fourth part, part 4th. The hypothesis confirmed by ethnic traditions. Chapter 1, the ancient cosmology and mythical geography. The cradle of the race in the Japanese, Chinese, Aryan, Hindu, Iranian, Persian, Akkadian, Assyrian, Babylonian, ancient Egyptian, and ancient Greek. And as I was saying, those are all perfect flat Earth cosmologies.
there's no doubt about it. We'll go through each one, including the Greeks. Yeah, Homer. That Homer talks about the firmament, and Hades, and heavens, and angels, and Zeus, and all of that, the heavenly chariots, the earth of the Hindus, Bharata, Kimpurusha, Haravarska, the earth of the Hindus. And we've seen that before in other, we have the CGI of that. And then again, so this would be Mount Meru in the center, sticking up. The Hindus number 2. I guess that was that as well. Okay. The earth of the Persians. And again, see, that was the flat earth from above. So we'll look at it again. The North Pole. Amazing. This is the Persians. So there's Sumeru again, which ascends to the heavens. We're looking straight down at it. That's the center of the flat earth map. The North Pole ascends to the heavens there. The navel of the earth. There it is. The North Pole. And this one leaves out, of course, the detail that we have in our other maps there from Mercator. The earth of Columbus. Yeah, no, this is what the other one was that I tried to show you. The antipodal polar. I'll go back to that. This one. So I'll read a bit of this. In this cosmological conception, the upright axis of the world is poetically conceived of as a majestic pillar supporting the heavens and furnishing the pivot on which they revolve. Euripides and Aristotle unmistakably identified the pillar of Atlas with this world axis. How interesting a feature this pillar became in ancient mythologies will be seen below in chapter 3 of this part, in chapter 2 of part 6, and elsewhere in this volume. Again, according to this view, the highest part of the earth, its true summit, would of course be at the North Pole, and since the whole upper or northern hemisphere would in this case be conceived of as rising on all sides from the equatorial ocean toward that summit, nothing would be more natural than to view the entire upper half of the earth as itself a vast mountain. So they feel that there's a giant mountain on the top and a giant mountain on the bottom. Extremely easy for the imagination to carry the summit of so stupendous a mountain into and far above the clouds, and even to extend it to such a height that the gods of heaven might be conceived of as having their abode upon its top. This is precisely what came to pass, and hence in the cosmology of the ancient Egyptians, Akkadians, Assyrians, Babylonians, Persians, Indians, Chinese, and others we find under various names, but always easily recognizable, this mountain of the world, this Weltberg, situated at the North Pole of the earth, supporting or otherwise connecting with the city of the gods, and serving as the axis around which sun, moon, and stars revolve. Often we also find evidence that the under hemisphere was in like manner conceived of as an inverted mountain, antipodal to the mountain of the gods, and connecting at its apex with the abode of demons. So at the top it's the mount of gods, and on the lower it's the mount of the demons. But what we see there, what they're really showing on all their maps that he's misidentifying, is that it's actually the flat earth, and that there's a mountain in the center, and that underneath of that mountain, and underneath of the flat earth, is where hell is. The world of Homer. Mount Olympus, Tartarus. So he keeps showing it as a globe. But I'll show you the flat earth, the real way that they actually interpreted it, that's actually better. And it's basically that there's the mountain on the top, and on the bottom it's an inversion of a mountain. It's not an upside down mountain. An inverted mountain is a set of stairs descending. Like that. So the flat earth is here and at the North Pole here, or wherever you want to put it. But that's the antipodal version of Mount Meru that descends down at the center.